7 hours of complete silence. Not one word was spoken. Everyone thought she was just antisocial. Then the engines exploded at $40,000 Frender. Calmly, she walked into the cockpit and spoke her legendary call sign over the radio. 2 F-22 pilots froze in their cockpits, recognizing the voice of their dead hero. Before you watch this full story, comment below which country you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe. The boarding process for United Airlines Flight 229 from Chicago to Seattle is routine. People shuffle down the narrow aisle, stuffing bags into overhead compartments and settling into seats with the tired resignation of frequent travelers. It's a Tuesday afternoon. The plane is only 2-3 full, and the mood is relaxed. In seat 18F by the window sits Elena Reyes. She is 36 years old, of average height and average build. She wears simple clothes, dark jeans, a gray sweater, and running shoes that have seen better days. Her black hair is pulled back in a practical ponytail. No makeup, no jewelry except a plain watch with a cracked face. She carries a small backpack and a paperback book with a creased spine. Everything about her screams ordinary. With minimal movement, she settles into her seat. She places the backpack under the seat in front of her. She opens the book, doesn't look around, and doesn't make eye contact with anyone. The businessman in 18E, a man in his 50s wearing an expensive suit, tries to be friendly. Long flight ahead. You heading to Seattle for work or pleasure? Elena glances at him. The briefest eye contact, a small polite smile. Then she returns to her book without saying a word. The businessman blinks, surprised. He tries again. I'm Robert, by the way, pharmaceutical sales. Been doing the Chicago-Seattle run for 10 years now. Elena doesn't look up this time, just keeps reading. Robert frohns, a bit offended, then shrugs and pulls out his laptop. Fine. Some people don't want to talk. He's encountered plenty of unfriendly passengers before. Across the aisle in 18D, a young mother named Jessica is traveling with her 4-year-old daughter Emma. The little girl is excited, chattering about the plane, the clouds, the snacks she hopes to get. Jessica tries to keep her quiet, aware that not everyone enjoys children on flights. Emma drops her stuffed rabbit. It rolls across the aisle and bumps against Elena's foot. "Oh, I'm so sorry," Jessica says quickly, starting to unbuckle her seatbelt. Before she can stand, Elena reaches down, picks up the rabbit, and hands it across the aisle to Emma. The little girl takes it with wide eyes. "Thank you," she whispers. Elena nods, doesn't smile, doesn't speak, and returns to her book. Jessica and Robert exchange a look. Weird, right? Flight attendant Carlos Martinez notices the silent woman as he does his pre-flight checks. He's worked for United for 12 years, and he's developed a sense for problem passengers. The drunk ones, the nervous ones, the angry ones. This woman doesn't fit any of those categories. She's just absent, like she's physically here, but mentally somewhere else entirely. "Ma'am, can I get you anything before we take off?" Carlos asks pleasantly. Elena shakes her head without looking up. "Water, coffee?" Another head shake. "All right, well, let me know if you need anything." No response. Carlos moves on, making a mental note. Some passengers are just antisocial. As long as she's not causing trouble, it's fine. In the cockpit, Captain Michael Chen and First Officer Sarah Patterson run through their checklist. Chen is 58, a veteran with over 30 years of flying experience. Patterson is 32, sharp and ambitious, on track to make captain in the next few years. "Weather's clear all the way," Patterson says, scanning the displays. "Light headwinds, but nothing significant. Should be a smooth ride." "Good," Chen replies. "I could use a boring flight for once." They have no idea how wrong that hope will be. The plane pushes back from the gate. The engines spool up. Flight 229 taxis to the runway, waits for clearance, then accelerates down the tarmac and lifts smoothly into the Chicago sky. Elena Reyes doesn't look out the window, doesn't close the book during takeoff, and doesn't show any sign of interest or anxiety. But if someone had been watching very carefully, they might have noticed something strange. Every few minutes, Elena's eyes lift from the page for exactly 2 seconds. In those 2 seconds, she scans the entire cabin, counts passengers, notes exits, observes the flight attendants' positions, then returns to reading. Her breathing is perfectly controlled, deep, slow, rhythmic, the kind of breathing pattern taught in advanced military training to maintain calm under extreme stress. Her posture is relaxed but balanced, weight distributed evenly, feet flat on the floor, ready to move instantly in any direction. Her book is held at an angle that allows peripheral vision to cover the entire aisle without turning her head. These are not the behaviors of a nervous passenger or a grieving traveler. These are the behaviors of someone with tactical training, someone who assesses threats automatically, someone who maintains constant situational awareness without appearing to pay attention. But nobody notices because Elena has spent years learning to be invisible. 3 hours into the flight, most passengers have settled into their personal routines. Some sleep leaning against windows or slumped in their seats. Others watch movies on the seatback screens, headphones blocking out the world. A few work on laptops, typing emails, or reviewing presentations. Rob Ert, the businessman, gave up trying to talk to Elena after the first hour. He's now deep into spreadsheets, occasionally muttering about quarterly projections. Jessica's daughter, Emma, has fallen asleep, curled up against her mother with the stuffed rabbit clutched tight. Jessica watches her with a tired but content smile, grateful for the quiet. Carlos and the other flight attendants have completed the drink service and are now in the galley chatting quietly about their plans for the Seattle layover. In the cockpit, Captain Chen and First Officer Patterson maintain their professional vigilance. But the flight is indeed smooth. Autopilot engaged, systems nominal, everything running perfectly. Elena has turned exactly 47 pages in her book, reading at a consistent pace that looks natural, but she's not actually reading. The book is a prop. Her mind is occupied with something else entirely. She's counting heartbeats between breaths, monitoring the subtle changes in engine pitch that indicate altitude adjustments, tracking the vibrations transmitted through the fuselage that reveal the aircraft's structural stress patterns, cataloging every passenger who's walked to the bathroom, noting their gait, their body language, their stress levels. This level of awareness would exhaust a normal person. For Elena, it's as natural as breathing because Elena Reyes is not her real name. She was born Sarah Elizabeth Morrison, but she hasn't used that name in over 10 years. She has carried 17 different identities across 6 continents. She has been a graduate student in Berlin, a journalist in Bangkok, a corporate consultant in Dubai, a teacher in Buenos Aires. But her real job has always been the same. She is a pilot for a program so classified that only 12 people in the United States government know it exists. She flies aircraft that don't appear in any official records. She conducts missions that are never briefed to Congress. She operates under the call sign that makes her a legend in military aviation circles, whispered about in fighter squadrons, but never confirmed. Her call sign is Phantom, and officially, according to military records sealed at the highest classification level, Phantom was killed in action 14 months ago during a mission over the South China Sea. The flight continues smoothly. The sun begins to set outside the windows, painting the clouds in shades of orange and purple. Passengers stretch, chat quietly, ask for drinks. Elena remains motionless reading her book, invisible. Then at 6:47 p.m., Pacific time, everything changes. The first indication is so subtle that only Elena notices it. A slight change in the vibration pattern transmitted through the fuselage. A frequency shift that indicates something in the engine assembly is operating outside normal parameters. Her eyes don't move from the book, but her awareness narrows to laser focus. 30 seconds later, the vibration intensifies. Now it's noticeable to trained flight crews, but not yet alarming to passengers. In the cockpit, First Officer Patterson frowns at her instruments. "Mike, you seeing anything odd in the engine readouts?" Captain Chen scans his displays. Number 2 is showing slightly elevated temperature. Still within tolerances, but I don't like the trend. Should we notify maintenance? Let's monitor it for a few minutes. Might just be a sensor glitch, but it's not a sensor glitch. In the main cabin, Elena closes her book and places it carefully in the seat back pocket. Her movements are slow, deliberate, drawing no attention. She flexes her fingers slightly, bringing blood flow to her extremities, adjusts her feet into a slightly wider stance, improving her base of stability. Robert glances at her, noting that she's finally put the book down. "Getting tired of reading?" he asks. Elena doesn't respond. Her attention is on the vibration pattern, which is now following a progression she's seen before. Not in commercial aircraft, but in military jets suffering from a specific type of mechanical failure. The vibration intensifies sharply. Now passengers notice. Heads turn. Murmurs of concern ripple through the cabin. Captain Chen's voice comes over the intercom, calm and professional. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain. We're experiencing a minor mechanical issue with one of our engines. As a precaution, we're going to descend to a lower altitude. Please return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts. Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin." Minor mechanical issue. The careful phrasing of a pilot who doesn't want to cause panic, but Elena can hear the tension underneath his words. This isn't minor. The aircraft begins to descend, and the vibration becomes a pronounced shaking. Overhead compartments rattle, drinks slush in cups. Several passengers gasp. Robert grips his armrests. "Is this normal?" he asks Elena, his voice tight with fear. For the first time since boarding, Elena turns to look directly at him. Her eyes are calm, focused, completely without fear. "No," she says quietly. "This is not normal." It's the first word she's spoken in 7 hours, and something in her tone makes Robert realize that this woman knows exactly what's happening. In the cockpit, warning lights are illuminating across the instrument panel. "Engine 2 is shutting down," Patterson reports, her voice sharp with urgency. "I'm showing catastrophic failure in the turbine assembly." Chen's hands move quickly over the controls, following emergency procedures drilled into him through thousands of hours of training. "Shut it down completely. Activate fire suppression. We'll operate on the other 3 engines." But before Patterson can complete the shutdown sequence, 2 more warning lights flash red. "Engine 1 is showing pressure loss," she says, disbelief creeping into her voice, "and Engine 3 has abnormal vibrations." Chen's calm demeanor cracks slightly. "That's not possible. These failures aren't related. They shouldn't be happening simultaneously." But they are happening. Within 90 seconds, 2 engines have completely failed. The third is operating at reduced capacity. Only Engine 4 is functioning normally. The Boeing 777 is designed to fly on 2 engines in an emergency, but it's not designed to handle this kind of cascading failure. And the crew hasn't trained for a scenario where multiple unrelated systems fail at the same time, because this scenario shouldn't be possible unless someone made it happen deliberately. The aircraft drops 3,000 FT in less than a minute as Captain Chen fights to maintain control with only partial engine power. Passengers scream. Oxygen masks drop from the overhead panels, swinging wildly. "Mayday, mayday, mayday," Chen transmits on the emergency frequency. United 229. Multiple engine failures. Requesting immediate vectors to nearest suitable airport. The air traffic controller's voice comes back, professional but urgent. United 229 Seattle Center. Roger your mayday. Turn left heading 270. Descend and maintain $15,000. McCord Air Force Base is 40 miles northwest of your position. Emergency equipment is being notified. In the cabin, chaos is spreading. People are crying, praying, grabbing for their phones to send final messages to loved ones. Flight attendants try to maintain calm, but their own fear is visible. Jessica holds Emma tight, both of them sobbing. Robert has gone pale, hands shaking as he fumbles with his oxygen mask. Elena sits perfectly still, mask on, breathing controlled, eyes scanning the cabin with tactical precision. She's making calculations, assessing the aircraft's performance, estimating glide ratio with partial power, considering emergency landing options, and she's recognized something that terrifies her more than the engine failures. The pattern of these failures isn't random. This is deliberate sabotage. Someone has targeted this aircraft with a sophisticated attack designed to look like mechanical failure. She knows this because she's seen it before. In classified briefings about enemy capabilities, in intelligence reports about hostile nations developing cyber weapons that can compromise aircraft systems. This is an act of war and everyone on this plane is a target. Flight attendant Carlos stumbles down the aisle trying to help passengers with their masks. He reaches Elena's row and is startled to see her sitting calmly, while everyone else panics. "Ma'am, please secure your oxygen mask," he says urgently. Elena looks at him. "I need to speak with the captain immediately." Carlos blinks. "That's not possible. The cockpit is secure and the captain is dealing with the emergency." "This isn't a mechanical failure," Elena says quietly, but with absolute authority. "This is a targeted attack. I have information the captain needs." Something in her tone makes Carlos pause. He's trained to handle difficult passengers, but this woman isn't being difficult. She's being professional, like someone giving a tactical assessment. "Who are you?" he asks. Elena makes a decision that will end her years of deep cover. "Get me to the cockpit. Tell the captain that Phantom needs to speak with him. He'll understand." Carlos has no idea what that means, but the way she says it makes his skin prickle. He makes a split-second judgment call. "Follow me." They move forward through the chaotic cabin. Elena's balance is perfect. Despite the aircraft's violent movements, she moves like someone who's walked through damaged aircraft before. Carlos uses the intercom at the forward galley. "Captain, we have a passenger requesting access to the cockpit. She says Phantom needs to speak with you." There's a long pause. Then Captain Chen's voice, tight with stress and confusion. "What did you say?" "She said Phantom, sir." Another pause, then, "Send her up." The cockpit door opens. Elena steps inside. Captain Chen and First Officer Patterson are both fighting the controls, sweat beading on their foreheads. Warning alarms are blaring. The instrument panel looks like a Christmas tree of red lights. Chen glances back at Elena. "Who the hell are you, and what do you know about Phantom?" Elena closes the door behind her and speaks with calm authority. "Captain, I'm the pilot using the call sign Phantom. This aircraft has been targeted with a cyber attack designed to cause cascading engine failures. You're not dealing with mechanical problems. You're dealing with compromised flight control systems." Patterson turns, eyes wide. "That's impossible. Our systems have multiple redundancies and security protocols. Which is why this attack was sophisticated enough to breach them," Elena replies. "And why you're seeing failure patterns that don't match any maintenance scenario." Chen's mind is racing. Phantom is a legend in military aviation. A classified program that operates aircraft in denied airspace. A call sign that appears in briefings with the highest security clearances. And this woman who spent 7 hours reading a book in coach is claiming to be Phantom. "Prove it," he says. Elena steps forward and looks at the instrument panel. In 15 seconds, she provides a technical analysis of the failure patterns that would take a trained engineer 20 minutes to compile. "Your primary flight computer has been injected with malicious code that's causing artificial sensor readings to trigger emergency shutdown protocols in your engines. Engine 2 went first because it's the system master for thermal management. Engines 1 and 3 were cascaded through the backup synchronization network. Your only untouched engine is number 4 because it's operating on a separate circuit for redundancy testing that the attackers didn't account for." She points to a specific display. "If you look at the pattern of warnings, you'll see they're following the same sequence used in penetration testing by advanced cyber warfare programs, specifically the patterns developed by U.S. Air Force research into aircraft vulnerability assessment." Both pilots stare at her. "Someone turned our own research into a weapon," she says quietly, "and they're testing it on civilian aircraft." Chen makes a decision. If she's right, they need her help. If she's wrong, they're no worse off than they already are. "What do we do?" Elena moves to the center console and begins accessing systems that commercial pilots rarely touch. "We bypass the compromised flight computer and switch to manual hydraulic control. It'll be harder to fly, but you'll have direct control without the malicious code interfering." Her hands move with practiced precision over controls and switches. Patterson watches in amazement as this stranger operates their cockpit with more expertise than most commercial pilots. "Captain Chen, When I finish this bypass, you're going to feel the aircraft become much more responsive, but also much more sensitive. Think of it like switching from power steering to manual. You'll need a lighter touch. Understood. Elena completes the bypass sequence. The warning alarms quiet slightly. The aircraft's wallowing flight stabilizes somewhat. There, she says. You have partial manual control. Engine 4 is your only power source, but it's enough to make a controlled landing if you're precise. Chen tests the controls. They feel different, heavier, but responsive. This is incredible. You just saved everyone on this plane. Not yet, Elena says. We still need to get on the ground safely, and we need to notify the military that hostile actors are using advanced cyber weapons against civilian aircraft. She pulls out her phone and makes a call on a number that connects directly to a classified operations center. This is Phantom Authentication Code Victor 7 Tango 9er. I'm aboard a civilian aircraft that's been targeted with cyber weapons matching the profile from Project Shadowgate. Multiple engine failures, active emergency, require immediate military response and support. The voice on the other end responds with crisp efficiency. Phantom, your authentication is confirmed. Stand by for immediate tactical coordination. Within 3 minutes, the situation has escalated from a civilian emergency to a national security incident. At McCord Air Force Base, 2 F-22 Raptors are already scrambling for emergency takeoff. The pilots, Major David Park and Captain Michelle Torres, received their alert before Elena even finished her phone call. The Operations Center has identified this as a potential hostile action against U.S. civilian infrastructure, which means full military response protocols. As the F-22s scream into the sky, Park gets a detailed briefing over secure radio. Viper Lead, this is Command. You are responding to United Flight 229, which has experienced multiple engine failures consistent with cyber attack. Be advised, a classified asset is aboard the civilian aircraft and will be coordinating with you directly. Call sign Phantom. Major Park's F-22 actually dips 30 FT as his hands momentarily lose control. Command, say again that call sign. Did you say Phantom? Affirmative, Viper Lead. Phantom is active and operational. There's complete radio silence for 5 full seconds. Both F-22 pilots are in shock. Park's voice comes back, trembling slightly. Command, Phantom was declared KIA. We attended the memorial briefing. Are you telling me that was false? Not false, Viper Lead. Classified deep cover. But Phantom is now active and coordinating this emergency. You will follow her tactical direction. Park switches to his wingman's channel, his voice filled with disbelief. Michelle, are you hearing this? Phantom, the actual Phantom. Captain Torres's voice is equally shaken. The legend is real, and she's on a civilian plane saving passengers. My God, David, we're about to fly with Phantom. Both pilots are stunned. Phantom is a legend. The stories about that pilot are whispered in ready rooms and pilot briefings. Missions in aircraft that don't officially exist. Operations in airspace where capture means war. A kill ratio that's classified because revealing it would expose capabilities. The greatest combat pilot in modern Air Force history. Dead for 14 months, except not dead. Very much alive and about to coordinate with them. Park's radio crackles. Viper Lead. This is Phantom. The effect is instantaneous and physical. Major Park's hands literally freeze on the flight controls. His breathing stops mid-breath. His eyes go wide with shock. For 3 full seconds, the highly trained fighter pilot is completely paralyzed. In the wingman position, Captain Torres has the exact same reaction. Her F-22 actually wobbles slightly as her hands go rigid on the stick. That's impossible, she whispers over the private channel. Park forces himself to breathe. His voice comes out shaky, something that never happens. Command, confirm that call sign. Did she actually just say Phantom? Affirmative, Viper Lead. Phantom is active, alive, and coordinating from the civilian aircraft. Park's mind is reeling. Phantom is dead. They were briefed. Killed in action over the South China Sea. Memorial service held at a classified location. The greatest combat pilot of their generation. Gone. Except she's not gone. She's on a civilian airliner saving 300 lives. The female voice comes again, calm and professional. Viper lead, I'm aboard United 229, currently acting as tactical coordinator for the emergency. We have partial flight control on one engine. I need you to establish visual contact and assess our structural condition. We may have damage that internal sensors aren't detecting. Park has to physically shake himself to respond. Phantom Viper lead, we're 3 minutes from your position, requesting your tactical assessment of the threat. This was a targeted cyber attack using advanced intrusion methods. The aircraft's flight computer was compromised before takeoff with triggers set to activate at altitude. I've implemented manual control bypass, but the attackers may have secondary protocols I haven't identified yet. Your job is to make sure we get this aircraft on the ground safely, and then help me figure out who did this. Roger that, Phantom. And then, Phantom. Park hesitates. It's an honor to fly with you. There's a brief pause, then, likewise, Viper lead. Now, let's save some lives. The F-22s close rapidly on the crippled airliner. As they pull alongside, Park and Torres can see the Boeing 777, struggling to maintain altitude on just one engine. Smoke trails from the failed engines. The aircraft is flying at an angle that indicates serious control problems. Phantom, Viper lead has visual contact. Your aircraft shows visible damage to engines 1, 2, and 3. Engine 4 appears operational. I'm not seeing any structural damage to the fuselage or wings, but you're flying at a compensated angle that indicates hydraulic issues. In the cockpit of Flight 229, Elena receives this information while monitoring Captain Chen's flying. Confirmed, Viper lead, we have partial hydraulics. Captain Chen is doing an excellent job maintaining control, but the landing is going to be challenging. Chen speaks up. Phantom, we're 10 minutes from McCord. I'll need you to talk me through the approach because I've never landed a 1777 in this configuration. Understood, Captain. I'll guide you through it step by step. Behind them in the cabin, the passengers have realized that someone from the passenger section is in the cockpit helping fly the plane. Word has spread quickly. The silent woman from 18F is somehow saving them. Robert, the businessman, sits in shock. The woman who wouldn't even say hello has been a military pilot the entire time. Jessica holds Emma and whispers a prayer of thanks for whoever that woman is. Flight attendant Carlos stands in the forward galley, listening to Elena's calm voice over the intercom as she talks the captain through the emergency approach. He realizes he'll never forget this flight as long as he lives. The F-22s maintain formation with the airliner as it begins its final approach to McCord. Emergency vehicles line the runway. Foam trucks are ready to suppress any fires. Ambulances stand by. Elena's voice remains absolutely steady as she guides Captain Chen through the most difficult landing of his career. Airspeed 180 knots. Rate of descent 800 ft per minute. You're slightly high on the glide slope. Reduce power minimally and let gravity bring you down. Roger. Flaps are going to be a problem with the hydraulic issues. Deploy them slowly and be ready for the aircraft to pitch down. Chen follows her instructions precisely. The aircraft descends toward the runway with agonizing slowness. 1000 ft in airspeed good, descent rate good. You're lined up perfectly. 500 F-rate, start your flare. Nose up, gentle pressure. 200 F-rate, hold it steady. 50 F-rate, perfect. Let it settle. The Boeing 777 touches down hard but controlled. The landing gear holds. Chen deploys the thrust reversers on the one working engine and applies brakes carefully. The aircraft rolls down the runway, slowing gradually, finally coming to a stop 3,000 ft from touchdown. For a moment, there's absolute silence in the cockpit. Then Chen starts laughing. The kind of hysterical relief laugh of someone who just survived certain death. We did it, oh my God, we actually did it. Patterson is crying, hands shaking with adrenaline. Elena simply nods. Good flying, Captain. Now let's get these passengers off safely. The emergency evacuation proceeds smoothly. Slides deploy from the doors. Passengers slide down to safety where emergency crews are waiting. No injuries except minor bumps and scrapes. Robert stops as he reaches Elena on the tarmac. Thank you, he says simply. I'm sorry I thought you were rude. Elena gives him a small, genuine smile. You're welcome. And I'm sorry I didn't talk more. I was working. As the last passengers evacuate, military vehicles surround the aircraft. Armed personnel establish a secure perimeter. This is now a crime scene and a national security incident. The F-22s have landed and taxied to a secure hangar. Park and Torres climb out of their cockpits and watch as a woman in civilian clothes walks toward them, escorted by military police. She's unremarkable looking. Average height, simple clothes, tired eyes. But both pilots snap to attention instinctively. Phantom, Park says, we weren't sure we'd ever meet you. Elena stops in front of them. Major Park, Captain Torres, your assistance was invaluable. Thank you, ma'am. We have questions, Torres says hesitantly. We were told you were killed in action. I was deep undercover, Elena replies simply, and now that cover is blown. But it was worth it to save those lives and to stop whatever this attack was testing for. A black SUV pulls up and 3 people in civilian clothes but with military bearings step out. They're from the intelligence division that oversees Elena's classified program. The lead officer, a woman in her 50s, approaches with grim determination. Phantom, we need full debriefing immediately. This incident has triggered protocols at the highest levels. Elena nods. I understand. But first I need to make sure those passengers are safe and that this aircraft is properly secured. If this was a test run, there might be other aircraft targeted already in progress. The FAA has been notified. All aircraft using the same flight computer model are being inspected. We've escalated this to the National Security Council. Good. Elena turns back to Park and Torres. You two did excellent work today. This won't appear in any official records, but I'll make sure the right people know about your professionalism. Park grins. Does this mean the stories about you are true? Which stories? All of them. Elena's smile is tired but genuine. Some of them are exaggerated. Some of them aren't cleared for discussion. And some of them, she pauses, are actually worse than the rumors suggest. In a secure briefing room at McCord Air Force Base, Elena sits across from a group of military and intelligence officials who represent the highest levels of national security apparatus. The room is windowless, swept for bugs, and equipped with communication systems that connect directly to the Pentagon and White House. General Marcus Hayes, head of Air Force Special Operations, speaks first. Phantom, your assessment is that this was a deliberate attack using cyber weapons derived from U.S. military research. Yes, sir. The attack pattern matches exactly with penetration testing methodologies developed under Project Shadowgate. Someone with access to that research has weaponized it and deployed it against civilian targets. Admiral Susan Chen from Naval Intelligence leans forward. Project Shadowgate was compartmentalized to fewer than 30 people. Are you suggesting we have a traitor in that group? I'm suggesting we have a traitor who had access to that group's research. It could be someone currently in the program or someone who left and took data with them. CIA Director James Morrison pulls up a file on the secure display. We've been tracking cyber weapons proliferation for the past 18 months. There have been indicators that advanced aircraft intrusion capabilities were being offered on dark markets, but we couldn't confirm the source or verify the capabilities. Now you can, Elena says grimly, because they just field tested it on a civilian aircraft with 300 innocent people aboard. Why? Asks Colonel Sarah Mitchell from Defense Intelligence. Why test it this way? Why risk exposure? Elena has been thinking about this question since the moment the engine started failing. Because they wanted to see if it could be stopped. They knew I was on that plane. The room goes silent. Explain, General Hayes says quietly. My deep cover identity as Elena Reyes includes a consulting job with a cybersecurity firm that specializes in aviation systems. I've been investigating anomalies in flight computer data for the past 3 months. Someone knew I was getting close to discovering this vulnerability. They targeted the specific flight I was on to either kill me or force me to reveal my capabilities. Which you did, Admiral Chen notes. Which I did because 300 lives were worth more than my cover. Director Morrison nods approvingly. Agreed. But now we have a different problem. Phantom is officially dead. If hostile intelligence services realize you're alive and active, it compromises not just you, but every operation you've ever been involved in. Elena has already considered this. I understand, sir. My recommendation is that we use my exposure as an opportunity. We announced that a civilian passenger with military experience helped save Flight 229. We give her just enough credibility to explain her actions, but we don't reveal Phantom. We create a new cover identity that can operate in the open. And what about finding the traitor? Colonel Mitchell asks. Elena's expression hardens. That's where we set a trap. We leaked false intelligence about my investigation, making it appear that I'm close to identifying the source of the cyber weapons. The attackers will either try again to kill me or they'll try to extract me for interrogation. Either way, they reveal themselves. General Hayes considers this. You're proposing to make yourself bait. I'm proposing to finish the mission, sir. Someone betrayed Project Shadowgate and is now selling cyber weapons that can kill thousands of people. I want to find them and stop them. The discussion continues for 2 hours with Elena providing detailed technical analysis of the attack, recommendations for defensive measures, and proposals for the investigation. Finally, General Hayes makes a decision. Phantom, you're authorized to continue this investigation under your new cover identity. We'll provide support and resources, but understand that you'll be operating with less protection than before. Your face is going to be on the news as the passenger who saved Flight 229. I understand, sir. And Phantom, Admiral Chen adds, we're all very glad you're not actually dead. Elena smiles slightly. So am I, ma'am. The story breaks on national news within hours. Heroic passenger saves flight after multiple engine failures. Former military pilot helps land crippled airliner. Mysterious woman in 18F. The silent hero of Flight 229. The media doesn't have Elena's real name yet, but they have descriptions from passengers. The woman who didn't speak for 7 hours. The woman who walked into the cockpit during an emergency. The woman who talked the pilots through an impossible landing. Robert, the businessman, gives an interview. She sat next to me for hours and didn't say a word. I thought she was antisocial. Turns out she was just focused. She saved my life and I don't even know her name. Jessica, the young mother, appears on camera with Emma. She gave my daughter her rabbit back so gently. I could see something special in her eyes, but I never imagined she was a pilot. She saved both our lives. Flight attendant Carlos becomes an overnight celebrity for his decision to bring Elena to the cockpit. Something told me to trust her. The way she spoke, the confidence in her voice. I've never made a faster decision in my life. Captain Chen and First Officer Patterson hold a press conference carefully scripted by military public affairs officers. They describe a passenger with military aviation experience who provided critical assistance during the emergency. They don't mention Phantom. They don't mention cyber attacks. They keep it simple. But the aviation community knows something bigger happened. Commercial pilots who review the flight data are stunned by the pattern of failures. Aviation engineers who examine the disabled engines find evidence of electronic intrusion that shouldn't be possible. And in classified briefings, military intelligence officers begin piecing together a network of cyber weapons trafficking that spans multiple countries and reaches into the highest levels of defense contractors. 3 days after the incident, Elena receives authorization to make a limited public appearance. She's been given a new cover identity, Sarah Mitchell, former Air Force pilot who left the service 5 years ago to work in the private sector. The name is bland, forgettable, with just enough military background to explain her actions. She holds a brief press conference, reading from a carefully prepared statement. I'm glad I could help during the emergency. Captain Chen and First Officer Patterson are the real heroes. They maintained control of the aircraft under extraordinary circumstances. I just provided some additional technical knowledge. Reporters shout questions. Were you scared? What was it like in the cockpit? How does it feel to be a hero? Elena answers politely but briefly, revealing nothing of substance. After 10 minutes, her military handlers end the conference. But the real work is just beginning. 2 weeks after Flight 229's emergency landing, Elena sits in a coffee shop in downtown Seattle, working on a laptop. To anyone watching, she appears to be a consultant reviewing technical documents. In reality, she's hunting. The cyber attack on Flight 229 left traces, digital fingerprints in the malicious code, patterns in the deployment timing, indicators of who had access to the aircraft systems before the flight. Elena has been given access to resources that don't officially exist. NSA data miners who can track electronic communications across the globe. CIA assets who can investigate individuals without warrants. Military cyber warfare specialists who can trace hacking signatures to their sources. And she's found something. The attack came from inside a defense contractor called Apex Dynamics, a company that specializes in aircraft control systems and has contracts with both commercial airlines and military programs. More specifically, the attack originated from the terminal of Dr. Robert Vance, a senior engineer who worked on Project Shadowgate before leaving the program 2 years ago. Helena pulls up Vance's file. Brilliant engineer, decorated Air Force veteran, security clearances at the highest levels. He left the military program citing family health issues and joined Apex Dynamics at a substantial pay increase. On paper, a clean departure. But Elena's instincts are screaming that something is wrong. She sends an encrypted message to her intelligence handlers. I have a lead. Need authorization to make contact. The response comes back within minutes. Authorized. Proceed with caution. Elena schedules a meeting with Dr. Vance under her cover identity, claiming to represent a cybersecurity firm interested in consulting on aviation systems. The meeting is set for the following afternoon at Apex Dynamics headquarters. Elena arrives professionally dressed, carrying a briefcase with concealed recording equipment. She's screened by security, which she passes easily because her cover identity has been established with legitimate credentials and background. Dr. Vance meets her in a conference room. He's in his early 50s, gray hair, tired eyes. He looks like a man under enormous stress. Ms. Mitchell, he says, shaking her hand, I understand you're interested in consulting on aviation cybersecurity. That's correct. I have a background in military aviation and I've been working on vulnerability assessments for commercial systems. Vance nods. Interesting timing given the recent incident with United 229. That was quite remarkable what happened there. Elena watches his face carefully. Yes, fortunate that someone with the right experience was on board. Indeed, though it does raise questions about how such a catastrophic failure could occur in the first place. They spend 30 minutes discussing technical details of aviation systems. Vance is knowledgeable, professional, showing no obvious signs of guilt or nervousness. But Elena has been trained to read micro-expressions, subtle physiological indicators of stress. And she sees them when she mentions flight computer redundancies. Vance's left eye twitches slightly when she discusses intrusion detection protocols. His breathing shifts to a shallower pattern. When she brings up Project Shadowgate in the context of vulnerability research, his pupils dilate. He knows something and he's afraid. Elena makes a calculated decision. She leans forward slightly and speaks in a lower voice. Dr. Vance, I'm going to be direct with you. I believe you know more about what happened to Flight 229 than you're saying. Vance's face goes pale. I don't know what you're talking about. The attack patterns match research you worked on. The intrusion methods match your technical specialization and the timing correlates with your access to airline systems through this company. You need to leave, Vance says, standing abruptly. Elena doesn't move. Or you can tell me what's really happening and I can help you. Vance looks at her with desperate eyes. You can't help me. Nobody can. They'll kill my family. There it is. The truth. Who? Elena asks quietly. I don't know. They contacted me 18 months ago. Said they had my daughter. Showed me photos of her leaving school, going to her apartment, meeting with friends. They knew everything about her. They said if I didn't cooperate, she'd disappear. What did they want? Access to the research, modifications to flight control software, testing protocols, everything I knew from Project Shadowgate, and you gave it to them. What choice did I have? They were going to kill my daughter. Elena's voice softens slightly. I understand, but you realize those capabilities have now been used to try to kill 300 innocent people. Vance sits back down, head in his hands. I thought they were just stealing technology. I didn't know they were going to actually use it like this. When I heard about Flight 229, he looks up at Elena with haunted eyes. That's why you're really here, isn't it? You're not a consultant, you're investigating. I'm trying to stop them from doing it again, Elena says. And I can protect your daughter, but I need your full cooperation. How can you protect her when you don't even know who they are? Because I have resources you don't, and because I'm very good at my job. Vance studies her face. Something in her calm confidence makes him believe her. All right, he says. Finally, I'll tell you everything I know. What Dr. Vance reveals over the next 2 hours changes the entire scope of the investigation. The group that coerced him isn't a traditional terrorist organization or a state-sponsored intelligence service. It's a network of former military and intelligence officers from multiple countries who have become weapons brokers in the digital age. They call themselves the Collective. They recruit specialists with access to classified programs, obtain cutting-edge capabilities through blackmail or payment, and then sell those capabilities to the highest bidder. Cyber weapons, electronic warfare tools, intrusion techniques, all the things that modern militaries spend billions developing, now available on a dark market for anyone with enough money. The attack on Flight 229 was a demonstration, a proof of concept for potential buyers. They wanted to show they could down a civilian aircraft using undetectable cyber intrusion. Vance explains they had buyers lined up waiting to see if the technology worked. But it didn't work. Elena notes because I was there, which is going to be a problem for them. They'll want to know how it failed. They'll want to know who you really are. Elena has already considered this. Good. Let them wonder. It'll force them to make mistakes. She activates an encrypted communication link and relays Vance's information to her intelligence handlers. Within hours, a full-scale operation is launched. NSA begins tracking electronic communications associated with the Collective. CIA activates assets in countries where network members are suspected to operate. FBI begins investigating Apex Dynamics and other defense contractors for additional compromised employees. And Elena is authorized to take the next step. She's going to offer herself as bait. Using Dr. Vance's communication channels with the Collective, Elena sends a carefully crafted message. The woman from Flight 229 is investigating. She's getting close. She needs to be eliminated. The message is designed to provoke a response. And it works. 48 hours later, Elena receives intelligence that a team has been dispatched to Seattle with orders to capture or kill her. She prepares accordingly. The attack comes on a rainy Thursday evening as Elena walks from her hotel to a restaurant 3 blocks away. She's alone, apparently vulnerable and easy target, but she's wearing body armor under her jacket. She has a concealed weapon, and there are 6 special operations personnel positioned around her in civilian clothes, ready to intervene. This is the trap. They make their move in an alley between 2 buildings. 3 men, professionally trained, moving with military precision. Elena doesn't run. She turns to face them calmly. "You're coming with us," one of them says, his accent suggesting Eastern European origins. "I don't think so," Elena replies. She's already assessed their positions, identified their weapons, calculated response options. Years of combat training make the analysis automatic. The lead attacker moves forward to grab her arm. Elena's response is instantaneous and precise. She redirects his momentum, strikes his throat with a controlled blow that disables but doesn't kill, and has him on the ground in less than 2 seconds. The other 2 react, pulling weapons. Before they can fire, the special operations team emerges from concealment. "Federal agents, drop your weapons." The attackers are professionals. They know when they're beaten. Weapons drop, hands raise. Within 3 minutes, all 3 are in custody. Elena stands in the rain, adrenaline surging, but expression calm. "Take them to the secure facility," she instructs the team leader. "I want full interrogation within the hour." The interrogations reveal crucial intelligence. The 3 attackers are contractors hired through intermediaries. They don't know who ultimately gave the orders, but they have communication protocols that can be traced. More importantly, they were told that Elena is a high-value target who uncovered a major weapons trafficking operation. The collective wants her dead because she's gotten too close to their network, which means Elena's trap is working perfectly. Over the following weeks, the investigation dismantles the collective piece by piece. Using information from the captured operatives and Dr. Vance's cooperation, intelligence agencies track financial transactions across multiple countries. They identify weapons brokers, compromised engineers, and buyers who were interested in the cyber weapons. 3 countries are implicated in purchasing or attempting to purchase the aircraft intrusion capabilities. Diplomatic channels are activated. Pressure is applied at the highest levels. 12 individuals are arrested in coordinated raids across the United States, Europe, and Asia. They include former military officers, intelligence agents, and defense contractor employees who betrayed their oaths for money or ideological reasons. Dr. Vance's daughter is relocated to protective custody and given a new identity. Vance himself faces legal consequences for his role, but prosecutors take into account the coercion he faced. He'll serve time, but not as much as he feared. The defensive measures implemented after Flight 229 are expanded globally. Aviation cybersecurity is revolutionized. Flight computer systems are hardened against intrusion. New protocols are established, and Elena receives a commendation that will never appear in any public record presented by the Secretary of Defense in a classified ceremony attended by fewer than 20 people. "Phantom," the Secretary says, "your actions saved 300 lives and exposed a threat to global aviation security. The nation owes you a debt that can never be publicly acknowledged." Elena stands at attention in her dress uniform, the one she rarely wears, displaying ribbons for missions that officially never happened. "I was just doing my job, sir." "No," the Secretary replies. "You went far beyond duty. You sacrificed your cover, exposed yourself to danger, and hunted down an enemy that threatened countless innocent lives. That's not just duty, that's heroism." After the ceremony, Elena changes back into civilian clothes. Sarah Mitchell, consultant. The new cover identity that allows her to continue working in aviation security while maintaining some semblance of a normal life. She thinks about the 7 hours she spent in silence on Flight 229 reading a book, Invisible, Unknown. And she thinks about the moment she decided to break that silence, to reveal herself, to save 300 people she didn't know. It was the easiest decision she's ever made. Elena sits in a coffee shop in Portland working on her laptop. She's reviewing security protocols for a major airline, legitimately employed in the cybersecurity field. A woman approaches her table hesitantly. It's Jessica, the young mother from Flight 229. "Excuse me," Jessica says. Aren't you the woman from the plane?" Elena looks up and smiles. "Hello, Jessica. How are you? How's Emma?" Jessica's eyes fill with tears. "We're good. We're really good. I never got to properly thank you. You saved our lives." "You already thanked me," Elena says gently. "On the plane, remember? That wasn't enough. I've been hoping I'd run into you somehow. I wanted you to know that Emma talks about you all the time. She calls you the quiet lady who saved the airplane." Elena's smile widens slightly. "That's very sweet. Can I buy you coffee or lunch?" "Something that's not necessary, but I'd be happy to have coffee with you." They talk for an hour. Jessica tells stories about Emma, about how the incident changed their perspective on life, about the gratitude they feel every day for surviving. Elena listens genuinely interested, occasionally sharing small details about her own life, the cover story, the carefully constructed identity. But underneath, she's still Phantom, still hunting threats, still protecting people who will never know her real name or understand what she sacrificed. And she wouldn't have it any other way. When Jessica finally leaves, thanking her one more time, Elena returns to her work. Her phone buzzes. An encrypted message from her handlers. "New threat detected, aviation sector, require your expertise." Elena closes her laptop, pays for her coffee, and walks out into the Portland rain. The quiet passenger is going back to work because some silences are just preparation for the moments when speaking up can save the world.